And greetings everybody, welcome to my cooking channel yet again. I have something really interesting here today for you, and we're going to get started. This is something that I picked up from my late mother yet again. I've picked up a lot more from her than I thought I did, and I'm going to have to be cautious with the terminology or name that I'll be naming this chicken. This is a dish that uses the following ingredients, and you will see that there's a beer here. You'll be wondering what that's for. We'll get to it in a moment, but let's start with the ingredients. Here's the chicken. It's been pre-marinated with garlic, salt and bay leaves. So no beer, no wine, no olive oil, nothing in there at this point. We have the coriander, the chorizo, the onions that have already been chopped. That's about an onion there. We have a cup of rice and whatever is left of the potatoes that I managed to find. This is all going to go together in the pot, and what we're going to do is we're going to use a bit of rama. In this case it's not rama, it's stork, and that's okay. So when I make rice, I ensure that there's always a bit of rama in there. So the olive oil and the beer will go into the pot, believe it or not. So I hesitantly call this a drunken chicken. I believe in the past my ancestors used to feed turkeys with beer or wine to marinate them. These are stories I'd rather not engage in, but nonetheless it's a similar thing, except we're not going to be feeding the chicken the beer. We're going to be putting it into the pot. So we're going to start with the sauteing the onions and the garlic, and once that is done, we'll start throwing the rest of the ingredients. So bear with me and let's get started. But lest we forget, this is something I've been wanting to do all the time. Let's get back to some food, other kind of food. So back to some words of wisdom. Proverbs 18: a man having separated himself seeks his own desire and rages against all sound wisdom. So let's continue. We're going to be sauteing the onions, and you will see that in the next. So as I was saying, the butter is starting to do what it's supposed to do there. So we're going to start by throwing in the bay leaf into the butter, as I always do, even though there is already a little bit of bay leaves in the marinating. And we're going to start doing the onions. And here, I'm going to throw that straight away. So, onions, in you go. It's about an onion, a whole onion, thinly crushed, or chopped rather. And start mixing that nicely. Now we will be putting a little bit of olive oil in here as well in a moment, but first let's do the onions. Temperatures were high. I brought them down a little. I'm going to turn them back up again so that we don't lose any momentum. And now this chicken is quite interesting because like I said, I've had to exercise some caution, because you know, the Portuguese use a lot of alcohol in their food. I'm sure using beer in chicken is not something you come across every day, not especially in South Africa. So let's continue by throwing in a little bit of garlic. Now it does have garlic already, but nothing like throwing a little bit more, because the garlic that's in the chicken is for later, not for now. The refogado, as you already know by name, is not a refogado without a little bit of garlic. So I would say it's about a teaspoon of that. There you go, and continue. Mix it nicely, and in a moment or two we will be adding the olive oil once this starts getting a little dry. But the rice without the butter just wouldn't be the same. Yes, the beer is going to bring a lot of sauce to this chicken, but you still need the olive oil. I'm going to turn this down just a fraction. There we go, to mid-heat position, and let those onions saute nicely. You could throw chili. Today I'm not going to throw chili. just going to leave it as is. The beer or the dumpy is the exciting. So please remember, nothing bigger than this. These dumpies are, if I'm not mistaken, 340 milliliters. Now it sounds like a lot, but we're doing a lot of chicken. There's at least 10 or 12 pieces of chicken in there. And I've neglected to let you know that they have been skinned already. This goes in without the skin. Okay, so let's continue with the sauteing. And at this point, I'm going to throw in a little bit of olive oil. Okay, about a soup spoon. There we go. And then later on, if need be, we can throw some more in. I'm going to throw some coriander in here. Oh, the smell of the olive oil certainly brings a different aroma to the refogado, the sauteing process. I'm sure we could get away without the olive oil, but you know what? I come from the Mediterranean and there we use olive oil. So let's get the coriander. We're going to throw in a little bit now. Coriander has a way of disappearing as we cook. So we'll save the rest for later. But for now, let's start using the coriander in the sauteing process. I'm going to throw a little bit more olive oil. You know, got to be generous with this olive oil story. Besides, it's healthy. The only problem is it's rather expensive. Not every household carries good olive oil, or olive oil for that matter. But yeah, if you can throw the olive oil in, it makes a huge difference. It's got salt, but I'm going to throw in a little bit more salt. Okay, it's marinated with salt, but just to ensure that we can have a decent, there we go, a decently seasoned meal without overdoing it, of course. So I've turned up the heat gently so this can carry on. You can see the coriander almost cooked in. Fortunately, there's still some there, a little bit more, and we'll edit this video and come back. Now I've made this chicken without the chorizo before, so this is something new for me. I happen to have a chorizo that I'm not terribly fond of. Doesn't matter where I got it from, but it's not as good to eat plain as the other one that I get from a different supplier. So I want to make use of this chorizo, and trust me, it cannot harm this meal. Chorizo will only always add value to the meal. So unless you're doing something non-Portuguese, of course. Right, after this we're going to throw the chicken in. And of course the chicken goes in when the onions, you can see, have been sauteed. So that's almost done. And I might throw in a little bit of water, but not quite yet. I want to ensure that the chicken gets braised a little bit. There it is. Throwing the whole thing in like that. Let's turn the heat up slightly. And now you just mix this and let it braise a little before the actual cooking starts. Okay, so the only ingredient that's not here, this has got to be stirred. As you see it frying nicely, but you don't want to burn it either. You throw a little bit of water in there. So you don't mess it up. Okay, excuse the steam. Smelling very, very good. As I was going to say, the only ingredient that I left out are the mushrooms. There they are. So we're going to throw that later on. That, as you know, mushrooms add a lot of water to the mix. So we've got to be careful with how much water we throw in here, bearing in mind that we still have to throw the rice and the potatoes. So I want to edit this so I can mix this nicely so it doesn't get stuck. We'll be back in a moment. Now you didn't see me mix the chicken here, but there's been a lot of mixing so it doesn't get stuck. And I'm now going to throw in a little bit more water just to facilitate. And the beer is about to come in. A little bit more water, I think. Struggling a little bit with the water today. There we go. Let's calm down the whole exercise. So I'm going to put just enough water before I put the beer in, so that we can cook the potatoes and cook the rice. Here we go. I'm going to start like that. Throwing, believe it or not, this is exactly how you do it. Beer. So 3/4 so far of that into the pot, and that is obviously going to bring the, you can see it makes a lot of foam. Don't worry about that, it's all going to disappear. And we can now start adding the rest, which include the potatoes first. So I'm going to take the rice aside, because potatoes take longer to cook, along with the chicken. But remember, the chicken's been in for a bit, so this should be a good time to throw the potatoes. Here we go. There they are. So instead of throwing water, we start throwing beer every time. So I'm going to close this and bring it down to low heat and let it do its thing. The mushrooms will go towards the end, and we'll be adding beer as we go along. So every time I add the beer, I'll edit the video and show you. And that takes the cooking process. Now, we all know chicken takes a while to cook, so that's why I've closed the lid, and we're going to wait for it, come back, turn it around, mix it, add the beer, come back and repeat the process, throw in the mushrooms eventually, and the let's not forget the rice. But the rice is quicker than the potatoes, so we'll come back for that. And we're almost done. And every now and again you just come to the pot and you take a good look inside and you see what's going on. See the blood coming out of the chicken, if any. Is it cooking, not cooking? Is it getting stuck? If the temperatures are right, it shouldn't. But just give it a shake and let it absorb all of those juices and the olive oil and the butter, the roma and the beer. Just all blends in nicely. We're almost ready to throw the rice. I normally make the rice separately, but by now you know me, I prefer to throw everything in a pot as a matter of laziness. I don't want to do dishes. I want it all in one piece. Doesn't look as attractive on camera, but it doesn't matter. This is about making and putting together a good meal with very little work and effort, and just getting the job done. So yes, right, we'll be back, and after this we'll be adding I've been threatening to add the rice and the mushrooms. So I think we should do the mushrooms. Let's do the mushrooms. So long. That will also throw some water into the, there we go. That will create a bit more. And put the lid back on again. Very important that it's closed. Okay, so the mushrooms are in. That's the next procedure. Just bear with me. I haven't made this in many years, unfortunately. So there we go. We're almost done for the rice. We'll be back for the rice now. And again, we come and take a look, and I have shaken the pot. You can't really see, but the mushrooms are starting to take in, and it's almost time to throw the rice. Just going to give it another 5 minutes or so, and then a little bit more beer. Well, a little bit, the other half of it. The rest of it's going to go in, and the rice is going to cook in there, believe it or not, and there's going to be plenty sauce with this chicken. It might sound like the rice and the potatoes will absorb most of the sauce, but the truth is, or the reality will be, in the end, I'll let you all see. So, one more look at what's going on here. I have stirred it already. Plenty of liquid going around there, so I believe I've thrown in a little too much water. having forgotten about the amount of liquid that mushrooms create once they're cooked. So I am going to throw more beer because my mother said that I should throw 4 beer. Bearing in mind that we're going to be throwing a whole cup of rice here. So while that bubbles away, let's get our rice in there. Now I recommend that you do this rice separately. I'm very brave to just throw it all in one pot because like I said earlier on, laziness. So let's see what comes out of that. I'm going to continue cooking. Got the whole dumpy in there, and there we go. Just got to wait and let it cook. By the time this is all ready, obviously I'll show you the final part on the table with a complete mise en place. And this should be another 15-20 minutes, I believe. 15 minutes to cook the rice and 5 minutes simmering before it's complete. So I hope you've enjoyed this so far. And a little disclaimer: I do not recommend the use of alcohol in the kitchen with people that have issues with alcohol. Obviously, this is just a Portuguese culture. You know, we were brought up with this kind of thing in Europe, in Portugal specifically. So this is something that we are accustomed to, but that can lead to a lot of problems because the majority of the society overseas, they don't just throw it in the food, they throw it in the glass and in the cup and the soup, and it's all over the place. It's almost a cultural, it's almost a problem, to be honest. So yeah, anyway, that's just off the record, and we'll be back to see what it's all come to. So at this stage the rice is cooking, and as you see, all the beer, all the liquid, everything has disappeared. It's pretty much gone into the rice and the chicken. I'm going to throw a little bit of water, believe it or not, after all the liquid. There we go, just to ensure that the rice finishes up nicely and that we are indeed left with a little bit of sauce. So there we go. We'll cook it for a little bit longer, come back, and we're almost done. Okay, so almost done. Last 2-3 minutes of our cooking exercise, the drunken chicken. Obviously going to be a very popular video, this. The rest of the coriander is going to go in, and by the looks of it, maybe even a little bit more water. So let's just edit this quickly. So at this stage I've switched the stove off, and it's now just simmering, and you can all see that it's, yeah. If you're hoping to get your own cooking channel done, and you want to get lots of likes and attract attention, then I would recommend you put the rice aside, because it's going to look a lot prettier. This is, like I say, simple, tasty, delicious. And I'm actually going to put this onto the bowl now and see if it all fits, so that we can do the final presentation. Here we go, we're almost done. And ladies and gentlemen, here's the final product. Like I say, not as pretty as if you've had 2 bowls, one with the rice separate on the side and the chicken separate with the sauce. But this is not about just being pretty. This is about just putting something together quickly, efficiently, wholesome, delicious, healthy, and using everything you have in the house. I hope you've enjoyed. Please subscribe, like my channel, and I don't need to taste it. I already have tasted it. This has come out really, really good. I think a little bit of olive oil and vinegar on the salad will go well. Otherwise, this chicken is absolutely stunning. The mushrooms, the chicken, the potatoes, the rice, all mixed with the coriander and the olive oil, the butter. You saw what went into it. Absolutely delicious. Please try it. Don't be scared. You're gonna love it. And remember to like and share. Do what you have to do to help me with this channel. I thank you for your participation and your visits. All the best. God bless.